Again, Happy New Year for anyone who didn't get that message earlier. Um, so just gonna get into OP typing here. Serena Williams. So Serena Williams is a very graceful individual. Her energy is just really like just a really good vibe. It was really good typing her for like the 30 minutes, 45 minutes that I typed her this week. Um, so we're just gonna get into the type. I do have a few thoughts actually that I want to share, and then we'll just kind of get out of here. So for anyone who doesn't know, so this is her type. She's a double masculine, SEFE, play, consume, sleep, blast, last. I, these days I don't go all the way to 512. I'm guessing like one or two coins just because of time constraints. But I did get the soft guess right. I was thinking she was more, not a blaster, right? And let me actually start with that. I recently, it's funny, I actually recently hung out with a blast last yesterday, actually. And their energy is similarly as graceful as Serena's. And I think, compared to anyone who has blast in the top three, blast last really there isn't that barking energy, right? Even with Serena being masculine DE, there isn't the bark that I get from someone like Ellen, right? So a good example is Serena went on Ellen's show, I think 7 months ago, and Ellen has kind of more of a barking, commanding energy. I don't know how else to describe that. This is a little bit abstract, but there's not as much of that, let's say, gracefulness, you could say, as with just someone who's purely vibing, right? And similarly, I'll talk about my friend for a little bit. I'm not going to embarrass them by saying names or anything like that. But similarly, like, it was just purely just a vibe, right? It's just, hey, we're here. Like, if I had to describe it in words, the vibe is, hey, we're here. Let's just be let's just be present. Let's just enjoy what's coming in and not try and force things. It's something like that. Let's not try and force things to happen. Whereas with me, right, if I had to describe my energy in contrast, because I'm blast third, there's still this energy of I have to get something out, right? And I think there's a forcefulness that comes with that energy. And so with Serena, I didn't get that. So I'm glad that I guessed consume. I'm glad that I got that. Getting into her being Savior DE versus DI, this is where I'm still having a very hard time. Her being Savior DE, I think I'm gonna be honest, it's just not that obvious. I think everyone with any type can be loving. Anyone with any type can care about other people, right? You could see it with, I think, Susan Wojcicki, to be honest. As a contrast, she also cares about people. She's involved. But with Serena, I if I had to use DE language, her emphasis on being inclusive, especially with her venture projects, might be where you could see the Savior DE, right? Where she's emphasizing diversity, where she's emphasizing getting everyone involved. I mean, I guess you could say that's a DE thing. I feel like that's an anecdote personally. You could also say maybe that her wanting to tell stories about other people like Venus and praise her sister, praise her father, make a movie about her father. I guess you could say maybe that's also DE, but I'm going to be honest with you. I think those are all anecdotes. I think Savior DI people are equally as good at that. I think Savior DI people can, and I'm going to be honest, I think Savior DI people can be equally as caring. That's what I've been running into in my personal life. Savior DI people are very caring towards me. And so me personally, I don't know how to tell the difference in real life. I don't know how to tell the difference between Saver DI and Saver DE anymore. I just don't. So I've kind of given up on that. Um, Last but not least, and I think this might contribute to the graciousness that I see in Serena, is I'm gonna actually talk about the masculine DE and the feminine DI. I'm wondering, this is not, I'm not concluded on this because I have to talk this out a little bit. I'm wondering if Serena having feminine DI or a feminine identity contributes to the graciousness that I see in her, especially with her being double activated on that. Because you know, with feminine functions, you're very, I mean, obviously the definition is you're very movable. There's not force involved in that function. Um and with her, it's I I don't, even though she's very competitive and even though she's very driven, I think in a lot of ways, like from a social standpoint, she's very, I the word just keeps coming back, gracious, 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 right? And so I think that I'm wondering if the feminine DI has something to do with that. I'm also wondering if, you know, I guess the way that I could tell that is by contrasting her with Ellen, because Ellen's also a masculine DE. Um, Ellen is more forceful, but I'm wondering if that's because she's more double activated on that masculine FE where she has to push the tribe. So this is speculation. I mean, judging from my own personal experience, I have friends who are equally as gracious, but who are blast last and double masculine. Um, they're gonna know who they are the moment they watch this. So there are people who are equally as gracious, but can be forceful when they want to be, much like Serena. Um, and so this is just an anecdote. I don't know. I'm just, if you guys have any thoughts, I mean, this is where my feminine tea is coming in. If you guys have any thoughts, definitely leave it in the comments because I'd love to hear it. I'm wondering about where this graciousness is coming from. So that's about it. I think everything else, her being savior sense. Oh, sorry, this is the last thing. Her being savior sensory, even though I didn't guess this personally, because I actually got her type spoiled for me. Her being savior sensory is actually, I would say, pretty obvious in retrospect because she's very big on qualifying whether something is real. So out of all the interviews that I did see, she's very big on, was this real? Let me fact check this. Are you so, for example, with when she started her venture company, she was told that, I think, out of the billions of dollars that are invested in founders, only, I think it's like 2% of all venture investments go to women, women funded organizations. And so Serena, the first thing that she did was she said, "Is that real?" And I think that was actually her wording. Is that real? Is that really true? And I think that that is kind of the biggest example of what Savior Sensory is doing. It's fact checking everything, right? Whereas with me, with my like, I'm gonna be honest, with Savior Intuitives, and I'm gonna speak for myself especially. I need to fact check more. I get in trouble because I just jump to conclusions and I just assume, and then I get in trouble when reality isn't panning out the way that I would want it to. Whereas with Serena, I think that's why she's one of the reasons why she's so successful is that she's checking reality for everything, right? She's checking reality to make sure that her venture company is a good company. She's checking her reality to make sure that her fashion designing is going to be good. Like checking the SF as well, but specifically the sensory. So that's about it. Those are my little thoughts, my little speculations, but that's also what I've been observing. Again, I think I am very fascinated by how gracious Serena Williams is. I do think that being blast last helps like a lot. I'm very not confident, but I'm pretty sure that being blast last is part of what, or being double activated on the introversion and the consume, let me put it that way, contributes to how gracious Serena is, even though she's competitive, right? And so I think that's something that I just want to kind of stand on, I guess, this week. But anyway, hope you guys are doing well. If you guys, again, have any comments, any feedback, feel free to leave them in the comments. I look forward to hearing from you, and I will see you in the next video that I make. Take care.